Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of SHLOtaku's MangaCast. This is a series on my channel where I just talk to you about manga and different chapters of different manga and manhwa, and manhwa. I don't know how to pronounce the Chinese version. Manhwa? Is it also manhwa? I don't know how to pronounce it, but as you guys know, I don't know how to stop reading manga. I literally have about 15 to 20 manga series reading all at once at any given point, and that's just the ongoing manga. Don't even get me started about how many manga I've picked up that have already finished that I have no excuse to just be in the middle of, but I am. And not just that, but webtoons. Lord have mercy, how many webtoons am I in the middle of? You do not want to see my webtoons account. There's just so many webtoons I need to finish, and so on and so forth. So here I am again, talking about something I love, and this is my channel, so I like to talk about things I like. So the first episode here, I'm going to be focusing on the first chapter of Jojolands. And if you don't know Jojolands, it is the 9th part of Hirohiko Araki's series called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And if you know JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there's one thing you must know about it. It's just the memes, the sheer number of memes. I'm sure that Jojolands will produce its fair number of memes. There's even one meme that's going to be coming up right near the beginning. It's just, that's going to go down in history. And it's just a fascinating series, and even if you don't like one part of it, I'm sure that the next part after that, or even the ones before that, you will like. And that's why it's just something anybody can get into and anybody can like. Although I do recommend starting from the beginning, part 1, and going to part 9, because then you'll understand the overarching story, you'll understand how everybody's related to each other, because every main character is related to each other in one way or another. And yeah, I mean, a couple of them have pretty convoluted relations, but if you read the manga, you'll know. If you watch the anime, you'll understand. I don't know when they'll animate the next part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This time it would be Steel Ball Run. I don't think it'll come anytime soon because they just finished Stone Ocean at the beginning of the year. But we are very lucky to have the chance to be here at the beginning of a JoJo part, because the last time that happened was 2011, I think it was, and I had no idea JoJo's even existed. I wasn't even aware of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure until about 2015, and that was because of Crunchyroll's stupid commercials about it. The reason I didn't start JoJo's Bizarre Adventures until 2018, 2019 is because of stupid Crunchyroll commercials. Lord have mercy. Those commercials, were in my face every 2 seconds, and I was just like, no, I'm not gonna watch this show just because you're pushing it at me, Crunchyroll. In the end, I stopped using Crunchyroll, so I stopped seeing those commercials. I would kill for a chance to watch those commercials again, not just the JoJo's one, but there was one about Free as well, and that was another anime I was like, I'm not gonna watch this, but in the end, I'm a Free girly. I love Free. So yeah, I think I've talked long enough about the background of this series. Let's just get into it. So I went through the first chapter, and I hope to do this every single time, but I went through the chapter and I'm just going to talk about the main points, highlights of the chapter, talk about a couple of things along the way, and yeah, just voice my opinions on it as we go. And it's just such a cool series, and I'm very much happy that I got to be here during, a new chapter of JoJo's. But yeah, chapter 2 is out already. I will get to it later. I might not make the second episode of this manga cast about JoJo's. I might make it about something else. I'm thinking about rereading Lookism from the beginning again, because I'm on chapter 400 at the moment. I'm like, I forgot what happened at the beginning. And there was an anime of Lookism that Netflix made, but it was garbage, so I'm just gonna go back to the webtoon. But yeah, without further ado, let us begin JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 9, the Jojolands. So yeah, Hawaii. Great. Beautiful. We need more Hawaiian representation, okay? And now we got a Hawaiian Joestar. That's exactly what we needed. We had a New York Joestar, we had a Florida Joestar, now we got a Hawaii Joestar. That's awesome. I really like that. So after we get a couple of panels establishing, the beachfront, people walking around, just the overall vibe, we see the police, and the mood immediately goes down, because as soon as you see the police in this sort of setting, in America, an American comic, something's gonna happen. I know, not all cops are bad cops, I get it, but this is for drama. There's gonna be a lot of drama happening, so we can be disappointed. So we see the police pulling a truck over, and this police officer walks up to the truck, and we see a very familiar face from the promotional image, the main Jojo. He's sitting in the passenger seat, and he's just chilling, and the police officer asks the driver to turn down the music that they were listening to, and of course not to make any weird movements, which of course is rule number 1 when you get stopped by the police. Don't do anything unnecessary or your ass might get popped. So the police begins questioning the driver, requesting them to put their hands on the wheel and also show their driver's license and their registration. Which, pick one. Either they put their hands on the wheel or they grab their license and registration. You can't have both. So, of course, we realize right away this is one of those cops who are just gonna be difficult for no reason. So the driver, of course, reaches back, grabs their things, and presents it to the cop, all while scratching not only the license but also the steering wheel, which the manga makes an effort to show you them scratching. So at first I was questioning it, but it makes sense way later. The driver then turns to the main character, whose name is Jodio. A lot of people were speculating what it was gonna be, but it's Jodio. Jodio in Spanish means fucked up, I believe. I believe it means that, which is hilarious to all the Spanish-speaking Jojo fans, and they're probably not gonna stop laughing every time they read this manga. So yeah, the driver then turns to Jodio and asks if they were swerving as the cop walks away with the driver's license and registration. And of course, this is the part that I said would be memed, because it's the first line we get from this Jojo. The very first thing that comes out of the mouth of this Jojo is not anything inspirational, it's not anything smooth, it's not anything, tough. It's 'cause you were jamming out to Dua Lipa so hard. I found it way funnier when I was reading the manga. It's not that funny anymore. I wrote in my notes, it got me on the floor rolling. I'm not rolling right now. It's not funny anymore. But yeah, that's the funny part, I guess, is the fact that it's the first thing that this Jojo says. And that's sad. I guess it's not that sad. But yeah, they share a little laugh and they have a little moment. It's really cute. I'm really wondering who this person is to Jodio. Like, are they friends? Like, what's going on? Anyway, so while they have this nice little moment, the stupid cop comes back to the window and he asks how old Jodio is. And I don't understand why the cop needs to ask this, but I guess it's for our information purposes. So Jodio is 15 years old, which is around the same age as I believe Giorno. Giorno's about 16 or 15. I don't know how old Josuke is, and don't remember how old Jolene is, but Jotaro was at least 17 when he started his part. Jonathan was older, and Joseph, I believe, was a little older. But yeah, Jodio and Giorno are around the same age. We learned that the driver is 18 though, so that's good, great. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to drive at 16 in America. It might be a little different in Hawaii, Like, the state law might be a little different, but the driver's 18, so there should really not be any issue. I'm sure this cop's gonna come up with an issue. And yeah, the driver said that they're driving their dad's car. So they also mentioned COVID, and I'm really upset because this is supposed to be a fantasy world, and we're not supposed to be reminded of the real world's problems. Thank you, Hirohiko Araki, for always reminding us that the real world exists. So yeah, the cop, the whole time, was in the driver's face as they were questioning the driver. And the driver was very uncomfortable. They looked very uncomfortable, which, same bestie. I'm also uncomfortable. Why is he in your face like that? So, while they're being uncomfortable, the cop notices the driver being uncomfortable and says, "You don't want me to be close because of my race." Excuse me? Excuse me? Get your sweaty out of here, bro. So the driver is made to step out of the car because of this insubordination, apparently. Because the driver didn't want the cop to be up in their face. So now, oh my god, you've offended me, get out of the car. God, step out of the vehicle. So, while that sucks, what sucks even more is that the driver is then literally slammed against the car by this cop. And this cop is being extremely creepy, disgusting, dirty even. So why? Because the driver is wearing a bikini and shorts. We're in Hawaii, sir. It'd be weird if they were wearing a parka and snow pants. Like, that would be weird. They're wearing what they're wearing because it's hot outside, I'm sure. So poor Jojo, he's like shook. Like, excuse me, why are you pushing the driver up against the car like that? Oh my god. What's worse is that this cop is huffing and puffing and literally starting to reach into the bikini bottom of this driver. The shorts, I mean. I wrote bikini bottom, but it's shorts. So this cop guy literally starts to spread the legs of the driver apart, and the driver's visibly distressed. I'd be distressed too. And the cop is saying some real out-of-pocket shit like, "Oh my Lord, have mercy." The other cop, because there's a second cop, remember, most cops come in twos. The second cop comes out and says, "What's the problem?" What do you mean what the problem is? What do you mean what the problem is? You can see, the thing that made me mad at this part of the manga is the fact that this cop can literally see what's happening. He can see. It's not like the truck is blocking his view of what the other cop is doing. The truck has a bed, which means it's flat. So the driver's side is pretty visible. Plus the windows are not tinted. So what you doing? Are you nearsighted? Is that what's going on? Can you not see far in front of you? Is that why this other cop is driving? So yeah. So meanwhile, the other cop, when asking, is everything all right? The disgusting cop, who is groping the living hell out of this driver, they literally just cannot keep his hands to himself, says everything's okay. The lying bastard. Everything's not okay. Anyway, so further making everything worse, as if nothing could get worser than this, it gets worser than this. This cop that's literally reaching into and groping everything and touching everything of the driver is saying, "I'm upholding the peace." Upholding the peace. Upholding the peace? Oh my. What peace is there to be upheld? There is no peace. This driver's not gonna know peace after this. Oh my god. So, this out-of-pocket cop then reaches into the front part of the shorts this person's wearing. So, I guess this is I don't like how this was executed. Let's be honest. This execution was the worst. Could we just not have... Because later on it's explained better, I believe. This is just not... Okay, let me just get through this part and then you'll understand why I'm upset. So yeah, like I said, this cop is groping and touching and like put his hand in the pants of this driver, and then he puts his hand into the front of the pants of the driver because he was groping the butt before, and then he gets a little surprise. Driver's trans, so I just don't understand why we had to go out about it like this. Like, we couldn't have done this in a different way. I mean, it was done in a different way. What am I talking about? But it couldn't have been introduced in a better way. I don't think so. Just, yeah, this sucks. Anyway, so yeah, great. We get trans representation, but this trans person is being groped and sexually assaulted, which is just the worst. I'm just like, can we not, please? But I'm sure that this cop would have assaulted Jojo too, I'm sure, because this cop is nasty. This cop is the worst, probably the worst person on the whole force. I'm gonna say it right now. He's probably the worst driver cop in all of Hawaii. But hold on, we're gonna get some retribution in just a bit. So the other cop sees Jojo getting out of the passenger side of the truck, because of course Jojo would get out of the passenger side of the truck, because Jojo is probably feeling the car rocking and is wondering what the heck this cop is doing to their friend, like, what is going on. So yeah, Jojo gets yelled at by the second cop, and he tells him not to move. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Cop. Do you not see the assault that is happening? Right, literal assaults. Like, this is a felony that you're witnessing. And you're just gonna let it slide? Why? Because he's your cop friend? Jeez. Whatever. Jojo doesn't care. Jojo's a badass. Jojo does not care. He goes to the front, like, he goes around to the front of the truck, and he asks this dirty ass cop what he is doing. And me personally, I guess if I was Jojo, I would have hopped out of the car right away. As soon as the driver got slammed into the car, I would have immediately gotten out of the car. But whatever, tension. This is tension, and we need some suspense. So whatever. So Jojo goes over to the other side of the car. The second cop literally starts running. Where was this speed before? Nowhere to be found. So this cop literally runs after Jojo, tells him to get on his knees, pulls out a gun on Jojo. Why? Because he just stepped out of the car. Jojo doesn't care. Jojo does not care. He slowly approaches the disgusting, dirty cop. The driver begs Jojo to just stay back. And then we get a little hint about what exactly their relationship is, because the driver says that Jojo is their younger brother. And both cops now point their guns at Jojo and the driver, and we're just sitting here like, please turn the guns on yourselves. You're pointing at the wrong people. Especially you, Mr. Second Cop. You should be pointing it at your cop friend here. He needs to be popped the most. Anyway, the second cop has the audacity to try and grab onto Jojo. But then we see drops of water landing on the hand of the cop. Then suddenly, boom, he drops to the ground. And Jojo doesn't faze him. He continues his approach towards the nasty ass cop, while the second cop is pelted by more drops, I think. Raindrops, I assume. It's not in color, so we can only assume. Then, in a cold moment, we see Jojo stand, which is a non-humanoid stand with 4 long appendages and droplets of water falling down from it. A nice non-humanoid stand. That's the second one, I think. All the other main JoJos with stands have humanoid stands, except Joseph and Johnny and now Jojo. That's great. Joseph doesn't even have any type of... His stand is literally vines. So, very, very unique. I remember when I was watching part 3, I was like, oh, that's so cool. We barely saw him using it in hindsight. We're not going to get into that right now. So, Jojo The dirty cop points his gun at Jojo, and Jojo keeps moving towards this dirty ass cop. The driver then places their hands on the cop's face and rearranges his eyes and nose in the split second that he chooses to shoot Jojo. But he misses because his eyes and nose are all rearranged now. Jojo then launches his attack on this dirty cop, and then he jumps in the air, boom, lands right on the cop's face. Jojo has to literally be removed from this cop. He's going so ham on this cop right now. The driver has to move Jojo because Jojo's just going, he's doing too much. Which me personally, I'd do more. Me personally, I'd take their guns and whip them with it. Me personally, I had to go into that second cop and I'd been like, this is what happens when you don't do your job correctly. Etch this into your brain. Burn this into your consciousness. Do your job correctly. If you see something, say something. That's all I'm saying. So Jojo, yeah, he's definitely living up to his name. His name is fucked up. He's definitely fucking up these cops for sure. So in my notes, I said it was the smartest move that I've ever seen, but it's kind of dumb in hindsight. But you know what? I'm just gonna read to you what I wrote here. Jojo goes to the cop car, deletes all the data on the cop's computer about Jojo and the driver, such as dash cam footage and then body cam footage, thus erasing any evidence of this event. And then the driver uses their stand to change their license plate number. And remember that scratching that I mentioned earlier? That's how I guess they activate their stand. So the license that they scratched earlier was rearranged. So it went back to normal, and yeah, it was really an interesting stand. It's a nice colony stand, kind of like Harvest and Metallica and Sex Pistols. It's really cool. They kind of look like mini versions of Wall-E, to me anyway. The pair then leave. They drive away. Because what happens? They set everything on fire, destroying everything. They didn't set fire to the cops. The cops are kind of off in the distance a little bit, on the floor bleeding. But yeah, this is why I was kind of like, this is kind of dumb to erase everything, because you're gonna burn it all anyway. But I guess now that I think about it, all the footage and stuff could have been saved offline on the cloud or whatever. But then again, if it was saved on the cloud, it still would be there, even if Jojo erased it from the computer. Nah, we're not even gonna think about it too much. Whatever, they burned everything down. Bye. Bye. So they have a nice little moment as they're driving away, and yeah, really cute moment between brothers or brother and sister. We don't get a confirmation of this person's gender identity, so I'm just gonna say they. Japanese is a different language, so the way that they describe pronouns, like you can speak to a person, have a whole conversation and never mention pronouns, because I'm pretty sure that's how the language works. But in the English dub that I'm reading here, they do use he, him pronouns for this character. But I'm just gonna stick with they until I know for sure, because it doesn't hurt. They is a nice neutral pronoun that anybody can use. They is the best pronoun, honestly. So yeah, after a while, they come to this junkyard, and they park the car, and they walk up to a group of people. And in the background, we see others, gathering things. They have guns. They have surfboards full of powder. I assume the sniffy powder that you sniff. And then we cut to somebody throwing a wad of cash at Jojo. And Jojo and the driver were transporting some stuff in the truck, and they were late because of the cops, and they were being lectured about being late. So what could they do? The cops stopped them, so not their fault. So the person who threw the wad of cash, this part made me laugh for no reason, I mean. But the person who threw the wad of cash was like, hey, did you guys see that cop car that was burning? Weird. And I was just like, oh my god, it was them. They did it. So the pair leave then after getting their money and collecting it, and then they straight up leave the car too. I guess it wasn't their dad's car. They lied, which I guess is fine. After this, we get a scene with our mom, which I guess Jojo's the narrator, so it's his mom. And it's a really cute little scene. We get to know the name of the mom, Barbara Ann Joestar. Barbara Ann's sister is actually Holly Joestar. Holly Joestar is the daughter of Joseph Fumi, yeah, that's the one, and Susie. And they're descendants of Johnny Joestar. So yeah, yay! There's the connection. So that's awesome. I'm very much happy about that. I wonder what Barbara Ann thinks about Holly's sickness. Does she even know Holly's sick? Does she know that her nephew Yoshikage Kira is dead? Like, does she know that? I guess technically he's not dead. He's inside of Josuke, but just I wonder how much information she knows. I really, really wonder. And yeah, this is taking place a few years after the events of Jojolands, so that's really cool. Very, very happy about that. That means we could get a Josuke cameo, which I'm very much happy about. So yeah, we get a nice little morning routine of Barbara Ann. She's very much a timely person. She goes about her day, wakes up at 7:15, catches the bus at 8:06, which means she does everything in an hour, and I don't know how she does it. Because if I wake up at 7:15 and I need to be out of the house by 8, it's not happening. I'm gonna be late. So Barbara Ann has a lot of people that come by and talk to her. She has somebody always carry her stuff for her. If it rains, somebody with an umbrella comes by. It's really cute, and she likes this, and they respect her. And yeah, they help her get to work on time, and it's very cute. And that's the mom. So all this is done by Jojo, and the person who was driving, they finally get a name. I can finally call them by their name. Dragona Joestar, which, if you saw a picture of Dragona, they have a dragon tattoo on their arm, which is really cool. And of course, they have the Joestar star on their neck. The Joestar star on their neck. Really, really cute. We get some more background on Dragona, and this is the part what I was referencing earlier. That this is the part where we kind of get to know a little bit of information about Dragona. Dragona wears feminine clothing, appears feminine, I guess gets injections or something. There was like an explanation about it. To have boobs, which, same, I wish I could do that. I guess I could. Nothing's stopping me. Money is stopping me. So yeah, we get that little explanation, and very much, I guess that's it. That's all the explanation we need, I guess. Dragona appears feminine. Like I said earlier, they do use he, him pronouns in the translation. Again, I'm just gonna they, them, the pronouns until further notice, just to keep it simple and keep it accurate, because they, them applies to everybody, like I said. So we get a glimpse of the Joestar family tree that we saw in Jojolands, and yeah, very much happy that there's a chance that the Part 8 cast might appear in Part 9. What we don't see, of course, is Jojo's father's name, because we always have to have some mystery. We can't just have good things. We can't just have nice things. So we don't know what his name is, Jojo's dad. We don't know the status of Jojo's dad as of now. I'm sure the next time we see Barbara Ann Joestar, we'll know more, or she just will not mention it, because why would she mention it? The other Holly Joestar never mentioned her husband, so why should that one? Or sorry, I guess Holly Joestar from Part 3 didn't mention her husband, so this part's Barbara Ann It's probably not gonna mention it. What the fuck? Anyway. So now we move on to a school bus because Jojo's 15 and he goes to school. What grade is he in? I don't know. What grade is 15-year-olds in? I don't fucking know. I was in 10th grade myself, almost in 11th grade, but I don't know. So we move on to the school bus. There's a big game here. The school bus has a huge game. Araki made us play Can You Find the Stand User? Because every other person on the bus, except for Jojo and one other student, is completely blank. Like they're a blank slate waiting to be filled in. Meanwhile, Jojo and this other person fully drawn in, fully dressed up, looking weird. This school does not have a dress code, I guess, because the second person on the bus looks weird. They look weird. They're definitely a stand user. Maybe not right now, but they will be eventually because they're dressed like a stand user. The most normal stand user in Ohio. I had to make an Ohio joke eventually. So yeah, the other student comes up to Jojo because why wouldn't he? And he starts bugging Jojo about stuff. What stuff is it? We can only guess. I'm sure. Actually, we see what the stuff is. We don't get to know what it is, but we get to see what it is. Anyway, so Jojo is given money by this other student, and Jojo gets mad. He's like, who the fuck are you giving this money to? And he literally attacks. He pounces on this kid, and later on when they get off the bus, Jojo comes back to the student. He's like, yo, look, everybody was looking at us. President McKinley statue that's behind them is always watching, which is hella weird because the fuck? I completely spaced on the fact that there was a President McKinley, number one. And number two, what does that mean? Does that mean the statue of President McKinley is a rock human? Like, part 8 introduced rock humans that can be rocks. So is President McKinley a rock and Jojo knows it? Is that what's going on? Or is he just joking? And this is his sense of humor, and we have to get used to it because he's the main Joe star. I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe there's just an actual camera, and that's what he means. And he knows where the cameras are because he peddles illegal substances. That's more likely reason, actually. That's probably what it is. So yeah, Jojo takes some of the cash and stashes it away, telling the student to go straight ahead. The student goes, and he spots somebody on a scooter, who then informs him to go towards a gutter. Then the student approaches the gutter. I know I'm saying student a lot, but I don't know this person's name. And we won't, spoiler alert, we will not find out this person's name by the end of the chapter. Next chapter, I think we'll find out their name. But yeah, for now, they're student. So the student finds substances in the gutter. Yay! Illegal substances. Jojo then goes into some type of rant. I guess it's not a rant. It's an explanation of what he believes in. He starts talking about something called a mechanism, which is the title of the chapter. When Jojo was 11, he started transporting things for others, and those that sent him to transport things all treated Jojo well for doing such a good job. So Jojo states that there is strength in the mechanism of trust, and those people trusted him. The law can't protect someone. Where the law can't protect someone, trust can. And that's an exact quote. So that's a nice, interesting way of looking at it. So then we see Jojo in 2 panels. We see him being all gangstar, which made me laugh a lot, honestly. And then in the other panel, he's surrounded by girls. So yeah, now we know. Jojo gets bitches just like Johnny gets bitches. He's 15! Anyway, so Jojo goes on further to talk about how this mechanism is a universal constant, which gets me to think that mechanism might be a similar concept to the flow that was explained in Jojolands, and that could be similar to the concept of gravity that was explained in part 6, which is the same as the concept of fate, which is explained in all the other parts. So I'm thinking that's what it is. This is just the new name for the same sort of concept that's always been a constant throughout JoJo's. So Jojo talks about his story and how this that we are reading right now is how he gets filthy rich. What we're watching is Jojo on his path to getting filthy rich. And Jojo boasts about how he's definitely going to get his hands on it, quote unquote it. Whatever it is. I assume it means riches. And then we jump back to the present where we get a name for the guy on the scooter, but not the student. Because why do we care about the student? We don't. So the guy on the scooter we saw earlier, his name is Paco Lavlantes. He's 19 years old. Bro's still in high school at 19. Which I believe in some countries, at 19 you would be in your last year of high school. But I think Paco's not in his last year. I don't think Paco's in his last year. But we'll see. We'll probably get more details about him. He's ripped though. He's ripped. They kind of go into his backstory just a little bit. About his, his body has some damage on it. And he has some damage on his ear. And that was caused by his abusive father. And I guess his stand ability kind of formed from that, I guess. But his stand ability is like it can morph his muscles in such a way that it can cause, like it can make it easy for him to do things. Like stealing, for example. Which he does in this exact scene where we get his backstory. He literally steals something from somebody using his stand ability. Dragona is in the background and sees this and takes Paco by the ear, not the damaged ear, the good ear, and tells him to stop stealing from people. So he stops and he gives back what he took too, which Dragona doesn't take no shit. We stand. So yeah, we're in a store where Dragona is working. Dragona works in this store. This store is called, I wrote the name down, but I didn't write it down exactly right here. Here, it's called Eco. And it's actually owned by somebody we saw very briefly in the school scene, why I didn't mention her because we saw her so briefly. But it's owned by this woman named Meryl McKee. And she's actually the principal of the school. So she has a side business, a side hustle. She gets her money. She gets her money up, not her funny up. And that's where Dragona works. And Paco. Paco works there too. I don't know why the heck he's stealing from customers. But whatever, I guess. Yeah, so later on the store is closed. And Meryl McKee actually comes and tells the squad to come into the back of the store. Where she sits down and starts explaining stuff. Because she's the boss. Not just of the store, not just the principal of the school. Girl has another side hustle. She is the boss of Dragona, Paco, and of course Jojo. What organization does she work for? We don't know. What exactly do they do? We get a hint. She tells the squad that she wants them to go and steal this $6 million, I guess. Yeah, dollar, because we're in America. $6 million diamond that's owned by this Japanese person who's on vacation in Hawaii. And this is their opportunity to go and get it because, like I said, they're in Hawaii right now. And they're on vacation, so their guard is down. So Meryl McKee wants them to go do it, but on one condition. They have to have a fourth person joining them, which, babes, last time I checked, 4 people on a stealth mission, that doesn't sound like it'll work, but okay, you're the boss, babes. So yeah, guess who strolls into the room? Not only is this person literally eating a burger while they stroll in, which I thought was hilarious, that's iconic, but it's also the kid from earlier, the student, the person I kept calling student. We still don't know his name, and we will not. The chapter's almost over, and we will not know his name. He's just walking in there, chewing on his burger. He gives no shits. He went to Burger King before. So yeah, Paco is like, that's the dude we sold illicit substances to. He's an addict. We cannot trust this guy. He doesn't have a clear mind. And yeah, Meryl McKee says no, he's not an addict. He's safe. He's safe to go along with you guys. So that begs the question, who was he buying drugs for? Why was he buying drugs? So yeah, remember how Jojo was like super boastful earlier about how he's gonna get it and get rich and he's gonna do it, all that stuff. Yeah, his mood in the narration completely turns ominous. Bro is like, yeah, this team is not enough. Even though there's 4 of us, it's a stealth mission that should be too much. It's not enough because there's too much shit going on and we're screwed, basically. And that's literally how we end the chapter. Like, bro, okay, thanks. That's not very confident of you. So yeah, the final page of the chapter tells us what everybody whose stands appeared in the chapter's stand names are. So Jojo Joestar's stand, as everybody on the internet guessed, is November Rain, because he had in one of the promotional pictures you could see his jacket had, I think it had Ember or November, like it was written, and everybody's like, I can only think of one song that starts with November, has November in it. It's November Rain. Paco's stand name is called The Hustle, which he's a hustler. Not as much as Meryl Makito. Woman has 3 side businesses on top of being a principal of the school. Like, bruh, she works all day, every day. And then, of course, Dragona's stand is called Smooth Operator, which I thought was really cool. I like that. Smooth Operator. So yeah, really hype. Very much glad that I'm caught up with everything. Even if I wasn't caught up with part 8, like I zoomed through part 8. I just finished part 8 at the beginning of February. So right before this came out, I was done with part 8. So I got part 8 fresh in my brain. But even if I didn't finish part 8 in time, I think I would have been okay because this didn't really spoil anything. Like it didn't spoil anything because even in part 8, when we did see the Joestar family tree, it was kind of obscured, sort of. So we didn't get to see it all anyway. So yeah, a lot of theories, a lot of questions. My main question is, well, I have a couple questions. 1, who the heck was that student buying drugs for? Number 2, will we ever get any idea of what Jojo and Dragona's father, what's going on there? Will he become important to the plot? Will he just not exist? Will he come into the story? Will he be like George Joestar the First, who was in, part 1 for a little bit? Or will he be like George Joestar the Second, who had a tiny bit of backstory for Lisa? He was backstory for Lisa. He was the motivation for Lisa, basically. Not Joseph, though. Or will he be like Jotro's father, Mr. Non-Existent? I'm playing music around the world. What music is so important that you need to leave the country? Unless you're Yo-Yo Ma or Beethoven. Beethoven's dead. Actually, even Beethoven didn't leave his area, did he? Like Beethoven, Bach, they didn't really travel around the world, did they? I don't think so. What are you doing? Part 5, I guess in Giorno's defense, his father couldn't be there for him. In part 4, Josuke's father sort of came in near the end there. They had a couple moments together, which was cute. Honestly, that's probably the best outcome. I think Jonathan won, the first Jonathan from the first universe. He probably had the best outcome with his parents. I mean, his mother died, but his dad was there for him, at least, kind of. Other Johnny, his dad was horrible to him. At least he apologized after a while, but still. Josuke, part 8 Josuke, I guess Norisuke, god dang, was kind of a good father, I guess. He's there. Yeah, no matter what Joestar you are, you're gonna have some type of daddy. We're not even gonna get started on Jolene. You're gonna have daddy issues if you're a Joestar. It's just par for the course. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for listening. We're gonna have some fun with this podcast. And we're gonna do our best to entertain you guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of this chapter, what you want to see next. If you want to see me talk about other things, like I could talk about things more generally as well. It doesn't have to strictly be manga. I just want to make talking about manga a priority on this podcast because I like manga. Alright, see you guys in the next episode. Bye.